This presentation will introduce you to PhotoVoice. So Margaret Wang is the person who is attributed with creating, popularizing the methodology called PhotoVoice. In her words, the purpose of this particular methodology is to create and discuss photographs as a means of catalyzing personal and community change. PhotoVoice is a variation on action research and oftentimes is referred to as community-based participatory research. Its features are these. It focuses on working with a small group of people who have limited power due to any number of reasons. And the idea is to use photography, the creation of photographs, to capture the experiences, the issues, the environment that is important to those people who otherwise have limited ability to exercise their voice in terms of sharing their experiences. Pictures are used with captions, oftentimes composed by the photographers individually, collectively, in collaboration with researchers, and the intent is to educate others, the public, communities, policymakers, about the realities of their lives and their experiences, always with the anticipation that this moves us in some way to social change. So you can see that PhotoVoice is an example of a methodology within the critical research theoretical perspective. PhotoVoice draws on these three different inspirations. Feminist theory, especially focusing on the importance of giving voice to those who otherwise may not have it. Paulo Freire's work, a Brazilian action researcher. The key idea for PhotoVoice is that every one of us lives a life that is influenced by society at large and in particular by issues around politics and power, and that it's important and necessary to understand those relationships. And then thirdly, documentary photography, which is a branch of photography that chronicles events of historical importance. Oftentimes they're big events, but oftentimes they are everyday kinds of events as well. So we might think about, for example, iconic photographs like Rosa Parks sitting on the bus. We might think of the Dorothea Lange's photographs of mothers and children during the Depression as illustrations of what documentary photography is. So in general, the procedural framework for doing PhotoVoice is, as illustrated in this schema, starts with a relatively small group of research participants, 8, 10, 12 is quite typical. Enough people so that you have potentially different perspectives that you bring to the research projects. And collectively, again, as in an action research projects, researchers and the research participants might have some initial discussions thinking about and conceptualizing how the research will be focused. The primary data collection is the making of photographs, so that is often preceded with some photographic training. Used to be when people used camera with film, that was much more complicated. Now most people use cell phones, but still there are issues around how to frame a photograph, learning about the difference between realist photography and what might be more conceptual and abstract. So there is still some discussion, some support, some training in how to take photographs. And there may be some discussion about what in particular, within the particular project, it is that the research participants want to focus on. So it may be that you're doing a PhotoVoice project where people with who are in wheelchairs are interested in the issue of their lack of accessibility to uh, places that they need to go. Could be transportation, could be buildings. There's lots of possibilities, and there might actually be some choices made about what in particular to focus on. But then people go out and take photographs. Once they've done that, they come back and share the photos they've taken. Oftentimes, there's a selection process, choosing which are key photographs that illustrate the research focus, that illustrate what's meaningful in terms of the experience of those research participants. They work together collectively to analyze and try and understand what it is that they want to communicate. There's captioning of the photographs, and I'll talk in a minute about one strategy that you might use within PhotoVoice for doing the kind of analysis. And then, importantly, the photographic representations of the experience are disseminated through an exhibition. So, this is the sharing of the knowledge that's been created with the public, with peers, with policymakers, in hopes of being a catalyst for some kind of change. So, just another word about how the analysis might take place. So, this is a technique, the showed technique for analysis, that's oftentimes used in PhotoVoice. And so you can see each of the letters cues the research participants to think about a particular thing. So, S, what do you see here? H, what is happening here? O, how does this relate to our lives? W, why does this exist? And up to the end of what can we do about it. So this is a common kind of strategy that's used. It's not the only one, but it is one that's frequently invoked. And then, of course, the necessity of having a clear way of disseminating is by mounting photo exhibits. So these photo exhibits can be in many different places, public places like libraries, community centers, malls, any place where you feel, as the research participants, you have the opportunity to educate people that you care about educating and who have the potential, the possibility for supporting social change as a consequence of what's been learned from doing the PhotoVoice project. So this is the combination of bringing the knowledge together, sharing it with people, but with an expectation that it's shared in a way that it is a catalyst for thinking about change. So if you're interested in learning more about PhotoVoice, certainly Margaret Wang's website is a good place to begin, photovoice.org. I've also indicated here a couple of books that are good, useful resources. The PhotoVoice Facilitator's Guide is actually free, available online as a PDF, and has a good comprehensive description of what it means to be someone who's planning and executing a PhotoVoice project. So there you have PhotoVoice. We will talk more about it if you have questions, but that's PhotoVoice in a nutshell.